What up, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, the show where we talk about how to be successful with a crowdfunding campaign. And funny fact, I actually started this podcast when I was living in Brooklyn, New York. And today's guest is actually from New York, which is really cool. Love hearing from people all over the world, but also, entrepreneurs and startups from New York is obviously rings true when it comes to my heart. So I'm living here now in Miami, Florida, and it's been an incredible time being able to see so many people be successful with crowdfunding this year. And in today's podcast episode, we actually went through the entire story and as well as behind the scenes of how this New York entrepreneur was able to raise $2 million, more than $2 million for his company on WeFunder for Blackbird Foods. So this is actually a food startup or a food product, something I think is very unique. They raised money with a Regulation D campaign, over 1.7 million, and they've raised 261,000 plus with a regulation crowdfunding campaign on WeFunder. So for those of you that are not familiar, that's a lot of jargon. Oh my gosh, I hate jargon. I hate financial jargon. I think it's just kind of used to mask and to obscure what I think should be very basic and plain, which is how the heck do you raise money, right? From investors and from people out there online. So in today's episode, we are talking about equity crowdfunding, which is a little bit different than more of like a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo play. Typically, when you think Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you should be thinking like a pre-sale or people actually backing your campaign, a product that does not yet exist. And then you're using those funds to actually go out there and mass produce that product, to do the tooling, to do the shipping then all over the world. And you get that one lump sum. With equity crowdfunding, with WeFunder and what we're talking about today, people, entrepreneurs, founding teams are raising money from the crowd. And it could be a pre-sale, they could give away different products, but more importantly, people that invest with this campaign are actually getting a small percentage of equity in the company. So these are people that are basically raising money via a public raise on WeFunder.com, and this is known as equity crowdfunding. So today's episode, we're getting into that and kind of the behind the scenes of how to do one of these mega campaigns, as well as for those of you that are interested in raising investment capital, doing from angel investors, from micro VCs, from those kinds of sources as well, friends and family. This individual, today's guest, is going to tell you exactly how to do that using a Regulation D campaign. So really exciting. I think that one of the most stressful times of being an entrepreneur is raising money and knowing how to do that. And by the end of the show, you are going to have the confidence necessary to go out there and to actually do that. So super exciting, really cool. And to help you along the way, my gosh, there are so many different trainings that I have out there and resources. But what I really want to do today is provide you with something that anyone can use no matter what stage you are, whether you're a beginner, you're a seasoned entrepreneur. So what I did is I actually put together a free course on equity crowdfunding. I know, insane, right? I'm giving this sucker away for free, and it's going to teach you step by step what you have to do to raise money from the crowd with an equity crowdfunding campaign. And I'm going to be inviting you into my VIP group. You get a VIP invite into my equity crowdfunding, Facebook group. So you can go and check out this resource at crowdcrux.com/equity course. That link is crowdcrux.com/equity course, crowdcrux.com/equity course. We'll take you there. You can enroll in my free equity crowdfunding program and course. So really great resource, but without further ado, let's dive into this interview and let's discover how this individual was able to raise over $2,051,000 for plant-based brand of frozen pizza and plant-based meats coming out of New York, and it's coming up in just a second. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we're speaking with the creator of a campaign that has attracted more than $2 million on WeFunder. This is for Blackbird Foods, plant-based brand of frozen pizza and plant-based meats. This campaign has been doing incredibly well, and we are lucky enough to talk with the creator behind this campaign and the CEO, Emanuel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Definitely, man. So to get started here, maybe you could just tell listeners a bit about your company and also about your product offering here.
Yeah, of course. So Blackbird, we're based here in New York City. We were founded back in 2020, which is when we launched, where we officially... The way we got started is that we invented a way of manufacturing and processing wheat protein where the end product is super different from other plant-based meat and plant-based proteins that were already on the market. What this provided is basically a brisket or a block that restaurants and chefs can use really as a blank canvas for their own dishes at their own restaurants. So while everything else on the market basically is a pre-formed patty or something that's heavily seasoned, this was something that's super versatile that all cooks of all different backgrounds could use. And so that's really how we got started. And then we quickly also launched our retail product lines. The two original ones was our seitan, one that's made from our wheat protein in different shredded, flavored, marinated varieties. And then our biggest item in retail so far to date was our pizza line. So that's our frozen hand-tossed plant-based pizza made with overnight rising dough, made at our own facility in New York. And so today we also recently just launched our new plant-based wings to complement our pizzas in this space. So we have those 3 product lines and our restaurant product lines as well.
Those wings sound pretty good just about now. Sounds exciting, man. So when it comes to this, how long has the company been in operation now?
So it's been about 3.5 years now. We officially launched in January 2020.
Awesome. And what were you doing before you launched this campaign or this company?
Yeah, before this, I was always pretty much involved in food and food CPG. So before Blackbird, I was working at Simply Gum, pretty much on their founding team. So Simply Gum is a natural chewing gum and confections company, also based in New York. And I got started there when the brand was brand new. We were, making the gum by hand when I joined. We were kind of just getting into some of our first retailers and got to experience everything from growing the brand from a manufacturing standpoint from the ground up, but also from the retail and distribution standpoint, figuring out how to get into regions of Whole Foods, how to get the product to the stores, and all the logistics in between.
So what made you really decide to launch your own company? Because I think that's a huge endeavor, right? For anyone. What made you really decide to go that route?
So Blackbird, we actually have multiple founders. All are plant-based chefs or restaurant owners that have been, in this space for several years. And so I got connected with them back in 2019 because what they had developed, some of these other partners, is the processing methodology and manufacturing for, or at least in theory, the manufacturing stages for this wheat protein that we've developed. So they were selling this product or using this product mainly in their own restaurants and some other restaurants. And I saw the potential in really growing this product into more of a national business and a CPG brand. And so we all partnered towards the end of 2019 to launch it into Blackbird. And it's really just seeing the potential in something, really envisioning the brand behind it, making sure that it would resonate with consumers. Those were kind of the big reasons that I thought it would be a good thing to launch.
Would you call yourself an entrepreneur? Would you call yourself, someone who's kind of invented a new way when it comes to food? Like, how would you define yourself?
Yeah, I've always seen myself as somewhat of an entrepreneur, even, back before, when I was in college or earlier than that. It was something I was always interested in. I always sort of liked interning for different small food startups. I've always been really passionate about food in general. So I definitely wanted to marry those two passions of mine in my career. And so, I definitely view myself as an entrepreneur.
So what I understand, you basically did a raise here on WeFunder, and you also did a Reg D or some other kind of raise off of WeFunder, right?
Yeah. So on the WeFunder platform itself, we've raised from the WeFunder community, just over 250,000 so far. But part of that same round, our seed round, we've raised from more institutional capital, closer to 2 million.
Okay. And by institutional capital, you basically mean like different hedge funds and like maybe insurance companies, or like, what do you mean by by that?
Yeah, mostly from venture capital, and then also from smaller funds. So high net worth individuals often have their own family offices that they make investments out of, or there's angel investors who, will put in relatively smaller check sizes into startups. So those were all the different types of investors we've raised from, in addition to crowdfunding so far.
I think for a lot of entrepreneurs like yourself, in bringing an idea into the real world as you are right now, a big like black box or big mystery is like, how the heck do I actually do that? Like, what goes behind a Reg D raise, networking with investors? Can you shed just a tiny bit of light on what that process is like?
Yeah, of course. So it's a little bit, I guess it's more straightforward than people might think. It could be because it could be an extremely daunting process where you don't really know where to start. You don't know who to contact, how, you probably don't know a lot about the language around investing. And personally, I didn't know that much before starting Blackbird either. But so I guess my first advice would be to really develop everything around your brand, around your products. Make sure you have a proof of concept. Hopefully you have some sales before you can raise some money as part of that proof of concept. And start by laying out everything about your brand and the value proposition in some sort of presentation, which everyone likes to call a deck, investment deck. And, there's tons of examples of that online. And then start doing research in terms of what type of funding is available to companies like yours. So that as we were just discussing, that could mean venture capital investments, that could mean friends and family, it can mean angel investors. So, just some wealthy individuals or individuals who like to invest in private companies. And so that's how you would get started. And you would find out who those people are by networking with brands similar to yours, perhaps, by just doing your own online research. And a lot of times these investors will take your meeting. So most of the time you're just cold outreaching to them unless you have some sort of connection, and really casting a wide net until you get some meetings. And you would pitch your idea to them similar to the way that you might see it on Shark Tank or something like that. A little less intense, I would say.
No cameras needed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more of a conversation. There's not like, a whole song and dance you have to do like they have in Shark Tank. But, similarly, just in an abbreviated sort of concise way, share what your brand is, the messaging behind it, everything like that, and why it's an investable, business. And then there's different instruments that investors would invest on. So typically, as we see in the startup world, it's either a convertible note or what's called a SAFE. A SAFE is a investment instrument that's pretty much designed for earlier stage startups. But then, convertible note is similar.
Another popular one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one question on that, when it comes to angel investors versus VCs, do you feel like there's anything different in the outreach or the process, or it's pretty similar between the two?
It really depends on how much you're planning to raise. So, typically angel investors, their check sizes are going to be smaller and they will want to see a VC come in first. So what you typically want is to have a lead investor, someone who's willing to set the terms of the round, who's going to put in usually the largest check size. And then there's follow-on investors to your round. So, people like angel investors and others who will say, okay, this credible VC has done their due diligence in this brand. They're putting in this, this much money. And so that's safe investment for me because I know that this VC is, has done the right amount of work to ensure that this is a good investment, because angel investors aren't going to have the same resources or the same time to look into all these companies the same way that VCs are. So that's, I'd say like that's pretty much
So just one or two other really quick questions on that.
Sure.
When you're talking about VCs, are you thinking of VCs that are a good strategic partner or in a certain vertical or a certain location? Does that matter to you at all when you're looking at this?
Yeah, definitely. So the amazing thing about VCs, and things are changing now, and things are subject to change in the future. But it's speaking in the past few years, there's VCs for all different types of industries for different stage companies. So what you'll want to do first is reach out, find those that might, for us, as an example, we targeted VCs that pretty much only invest in alternative proteins. So a lot of VCs are mission driven, just depending on what space they're in, or they're industry specific. And so, it doesn't make sense for us to go after, software VC that invests mostly in computer software. So we would stick to those that are more brand related or more, CPG focused or more alternative protein focused. So that's definitely a big part of it.
And the other question, I think this is really pivotal. So, thank you so much for sharing this, because I think it's really going to help a lot of people, is how long does a founder really have to think about in terms of the duration to raise that round? Because I think there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah. So to be completely transparent, we're talking in July 2023. The climate for investing has definitely shifted since in the past couple of years, where maybe 2 years ago and before that, it was relatively easy. Most people would say, to raise money, and you could do it in a pretty short timeline. Today, investors are much more cautious. Interest rates are higher for lending money, and there's just less liquidity, it seems, out there. And a lot of investors are reserving their capital for their existing portfolio companies in case any of their existing companies need more investment. So for these days, our timeline, we're looking at 6 months or more as we start conversations till when we plan to close around. Whereas in the past, it could have been 3 months about or less. But it also depends on the stage you're at. If you're at more earlier stage, it could be done sooner, because you're not going to have to prove as much a concept as you do once you're later stage, and have to really show them your traction and everything like that. So, but yeah, that's our experience right now.
So, in thinking about this, you've had to learn a tremendous amount about finance, about raising money, about company metrics to really move this company forward. What are you so passionate about when it comes to the vision? Because this is a really big vision. I know this is a big market you're going after. Like, what are you so passionate about when it comes to that?
Yeah, for Blackbird specifically, we're doing two things. What drives us, myself and the other founders, is that we are really passionate about removing animals from the equation in the food supply chain. So, factory farming and practices like that are extremely detrimental to the environment. It's unhealthy, the practices that are going on right now. And we really see plant-based as the future, a cleaner and better future. And so that's really what drives us every day. And but what we really want to do is not just focus on selling to vegans or people who already share our vision, but really to show flexitarians or just conventional shoppers that these products can really be just as good as what they're used to, and there's no compromise that they have to make when switching over to a plant-based product. So that's really what has driven the look of our brand, the way that we talk about our products, everything like that. Our goal is just to provide restaurant quality products for the retail space that happen to be plant-based. So we're really focused on quality first.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist, fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. Between you and me, how big is this market size? Like if you're able to successfully execute, get done what you say you're going to get done, hit these milestones, how big is the potential payoff, or how big is the market for this?
Yeah, so it really, the way we look at it is it really depends on what product category you're in. So as I mentioned, frozen pizzas for us is our biggest seller in the retail space. And if you look at the frozen pizza category as a whole, if I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere around $20 billion. And that includes your DiGiorno's of the world and CPK pizzas. And the truth is, if you're a brand in this space, you have to compete with everyone. We're on shelf at over 300 Target stores, and we're placed right next to all the brands, not just other plant-based brands. So that's really the market that we're competing in, and that buyers want to see us outperform.
When it comes to thinking about crowdfunding, I mean, you've already been successful in raising money with a Reg D from institutional investors and from angels and friends and family. Why bring crowdfunding into the mix? Why did you decide to launch a campaign on WeFunder? Yeah,
that's a great question, and something I think is really valuable for every brand to ask. And one of the main benefits that we saw as a brand is a way to really engage our following and our followers, and to even build a more loyal following out of our existing fans, because not only does it help us raise additional capital, which is super crucial, especially in investing climates like we're seeing today, but also as it relates to, if you get a fan or, one of your customers to invest in you, they're only going to want to share your brand with more of their friends. They're going to be more invested in your brand as well. So, that was a main benefit, sort of like a positive side effect that we saw from having running a crowdfunding campaign that didn't actually occur to us until we started the whole process.
So you decide to do this campaign, and then you have to get together like a video, and you have your slide deck as well. How long from like when you made that decision to when you actually launched the WeFunder?
Yeah, so we had been thinking about it for several months. I would say once we actually decided once we made that final decision, it was probably just a few weeks between when we made that decision and when our WeFunder campaign was live. However, I think what's important for listeners to know is that you need to have what's called, and this is getting in the weeds a little bit, but you need to have what's called a CPA review letter. So to have a crowdfunding campaign. So you have to have all your financials pretty much reviewed and confirmed by a CPA. That's then submitted to your crowdfunding platform, which gets submitted to the SEC. And that could take about 6 weeks. And you cannot collect any money from your crowdfunding investments until that letter is submitted. And so even though you can start raising money on the platform pretty much instantaneously, it's important for potential crowdfunding campaigners to know that those types of things could take several weeks. And it's typically not a way to raise money overnight if that's what you need. It's it's not necessarily the easy way out in terms of fundraising. And it takes several weeks, I think, in total as a process, if not months.
So I'm looking through what some of your investors are saying. So for example, some say they've been a vegan for 33 years. They're excited to support. Other people are investing because of sustainability. Some people say it's the best frozen pizza I've ever had, bar none. Some guy, some female, Tina, said she found the pizza at Target, best pizza crust ever, ordered a pack online. You have people like from many different walks of life that are jumping at this.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see because it's not always, especially when you're sold in retail, not on e-commerce as much. It's hard to know who exactly all your customers are and where do they live and what types, what are their demographics, how old are they? So it's been really exciting to see, who some of our loyal fans are, and the fact that they're willing to invest in us is a huge vote of confidence.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the idea as well of like a consumer or someone who loves your brand and your product also becoming an investor. Like that's just so cool, right? Because you think about, you probably have so many people that are buying this, and for them to become an investor is really cool. It's almost like becoming a hardcore member of the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I was also looking through the campaign, one of the other questions I had is like, I think a lot of the times as entrepreneurs, we're not always super transparent. And I think that, when you go live with something like this and you're starting to put this out there, like what kind of feelings and thoughts are like going through your mind when you're conducting that kind of like a public launch?
Yeah. So like you just referenced, unlike private investing or fundraising from VCs and things like that, you really do have to disclose everything about your company and your business. So all your financials, all your sales and revenue and some of your customer information. So that's one thing you have to kind of be okay with as you launch. So if you're worried about competitors seeing things like that, I think it's good that it forces brands to be transparent. But if you're considering launching a campaign, those are additional considerations to take. And also you want to, for us, it was really important for us that we invested some money up front in making sure that everything looked as good as our typical, website and our products and our packaging. So we did invest in hiring for example, a videographer to help us with our
pitch video.
Our pitch video, so that consumers got a really good view of the brand, who's behind it, and everything that we stand for. Because while we're super scrappy on most things that we do, we like to do as much as we can in-house. It's good to know what you're good at and what you need help with. And it's important to spend the dollars on things you need help with, and of course, save on things that you think you can do yourself.
Yeah. It's obviously good to leverage, right? And to make sure that you're filling the gaps in your skill set in that way. So I think that's definitely critical. One other question I had for you, kind of on the founder front, right? So you've been able to grow this company, attract a team, get something out there, raise money. Do you feel like you are a minority? Do you feel like you are an outlier, or do you feel like other people could potentially follow in your footsteps? And if so, do you have any advice for those people that are out there to get something off the ground?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm that special. So I do think it's something almost anyone can do. Number one, you have to want to do it. It's definitely not the type of 9-to-5 job where you can clock in and out and forget about the end of the day. It's sort of, if you go on vacation, especially when you're getting things started, like if you want to go on vacation, you want to take time off or, have other commitments, it's really hard to separate yourself from the operations of the business, just because you probably don't have as big a team and people to fall back on until you're really a little bit more mature. But yeah, I think if you think you have a good concept, the advice that I've gotten and what I give myself is, just start selling it. You don't have to have it perfect. You don't have to spend so much time on every little detail before you just get started, because what you really want to do is get it out there on the market, whether it's a product or a service, and get instant feedback as much as you can from your own customers who are actually going to be buying the product, and then continue to iterate and build on that. And if you need a pivot, that's perfectly fine. If it's working, even better, and just keep doing what you're doing until you have something that's, has legs. So that's my advice is, don't try to bite off more than you can chew or anything like that. Just, it's good to get something out there and iterate as you go.
Well said. Well said. Where can people go to learn more about Blackbird Foods? Should they go to the website, or where should they go to learn more about what you're doing here?
Yeah, the best place is our website, blackbirdfoods.com, or if you're on social media, our Instagram is Blackbird Foods. You can find us in stores such as Target, Sprouts, and Whole Foods, Fresh Market. And you can also order our product online on blackbirdfoods.com.
Great. And I just have two more questions for you. The first one is on the marketing front, do you feel like there are any lessons that you could impart or any advice or tips when it comes to running an equity crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, for crowdfunding, what we've learned, once you launch your campaign, you will be inundated with emails from people trying to sell you their services, usually marketing services, because you can't just launch the campaign and expect to get investors. You really have to promote it yourself. And our experience has been, don't spend much money or time running ads about your campaign or anything like that, because it's going to be tough to find investors who haven't heard of you before. So really focus on your key, on your followers, on your audience, on your LinkedIn network. The people who already know you is where you're going to likely going to get the most money. And so really focus on marketing and promoting to your existing, followers, and don't get, try not to get distracted or convinced by people who try to sell you their services that they're going to blow up your campaign, make it go viral. I think that's, it's important to be realistic with a lot of those things.
Great. Thank you for that. And my final question is, and we can end the episode on this note. You can either end with a final quote that you like, a book that you recommend people reading, or a simple word of encouragement for other people out there trying to bring their dreams into reality, anything like that. And we can end on that note.
Yes, I have mentioned this once before in another interview, but my former boss taught me, and on the surface, it might sound funny, but if someone offers you something for free, take it as a founder. So if someone is offering you, that's not just monetary, but if someone's offering you advice or help or assistance with getting your brand out there, don't be afraid to lean on each other as fellow founders or people who are willing to help you get your brand started. It really takes more than just one person. It takes, loyal fans. It takes a community. It takes other people to promote your products. And so that's good advice that I've gotten is to, if someone offers you something for free, take it.
Well said. Well said. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And good luck with your remaining days here. Hope it is super successful, and can't wait to see you in even more stores. Good luck with your remaining days here. Hope it is super successful, and can't wait to see you in even more stores.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Now, that was an incredibly well-spent hour. I think that to me, the skills that you're learning on this show, the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, and also the guests that are coming on, you are literally getting an inside look into how to raise funding. And this is the number one skill of an entrepreneur, aside from being able to come together with a new product, aside from being able to do marketing and sales, or partnering with someone like myself to help you with marketing and sales, right? Aside from, coming up with the idea and attracting the people to do a team, the number one skill of an entrepreneur is to be able to raise funding, because without funding, the business does not go very far. It's kind of like you're trying to have a plane take off to take you to this incredible destination, but you don't have any fuel. if you don't have any fuel in the plane, it's hard to really, take off and go to that place, that destination that you want to go. So in this case, funding is the fuel. And in my opinion, equity crowdfunding is almost like a supercharged, souped up version of fuel that can help you get to that place even faster. So if you think about this, this is almost like you're literally going light speed compared to many other forms of crowdfunding. And it's one of the reasons why I've been putting out so many resources about equity crowdfunding recently. So in addition to my free course that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I also have a great book out there called Equity Crowdfunding Explained, which you can check out at crowdcrux.com/equityaudio. And I'll include that link in the show notes as well. But lastly, I've been helping so many students raise money on these different platforms. And I think that this is something that I'm going to be doing a lot more of, and something that I've just seen so many different types of products, so many different types of businesses see success with equity crowdfunding that I had to I had to get more episodes out there because you guys don't believe me, right? Like, this is the reason in the beginning why I started this podcast, is that people would not believe that these campaigns are actually happening, that people are raising millions of dollars, right, with crowdfunding campaigns. When I would talk about this, no one would believe me. So I finally, set my foot down. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to show people that this is happening. And this is a great example of this. And I'm going to be bringing more and more episodes on the show. If you are a bit curious about how to actually do this campaign, and you're thinking about maybe raising money for your own business, for your own product, for whatever it is that you're doing, and you really want to explore that option, not only to get that confirmation that this is the right path for you to go down and sort of assess that, but also what do you need to do in order to get your ducks in a row, the step-by-step process, how fast can you do this thing, what are you missing, all those kinds of things we can talk about in an intensive one-on-one coaching session. So these sessions are quite intensive, and they're designed to be useful, helpful, practical, and at the end of it, you feel extremely confident going into your raise, or very quickly that this is not something that you should be sinking your toes into when it comes to equity crowdfunding. Maybe you don't have the right category, you don't have the right resources, or whatever it is. So I can tell you that very quickly in an intensive coaching session, and as well get to really the ground floor of what you need to do in order to be successful. So if you want to discover and get access to that game plan, have this all tailored to you, and also for your unique case, book an intensive coaching call with me at the link I'm about to mention at crowdcrux.com/coaching. That link is crowdcrux.com/coaching. Write this down, crowdcrux.com/coaching. And before you forget, go and do it now. That way, make sure we can get that call scheduled ASAP. And if you want to, you can also book it in the future that way if you can't do it this week. Thank you so much. My name is Salvador Briggman. Look forward to talking with you more and sharing with you more stories of equity crowdfunding success on this podcast. And if nothing else, take some action towards your dreams this week. Set aside a little bit of time to make some progress, or to, dive into some other episodes we got out there. Thank you so much. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I will see you next time.